My name is Allison Hanvey. I am 21 years old, and I go to Alfred University in Alfred, New York.
So, okay, just like give me like a general timeline of like what's happened with you since you found out of like the coronavirus and like when you found out and like how it's affected you.
So when I found out initially that we were basically going to be shut down, I was in Belize on spring break, so I had limited access to any internet. So we kind of got like pieces and of it. It didn't really seem real at first. And then when we, even like through the airports, like getting back into Canada and then into the US, like it wasn't a big deal because Belize didn't have any issues. But once we got back to campus, I went home, and it really hit when I got the email saying that classes were going to be switched to online. Because initially they had switched to online for a week, and then they were going to go back to regular classes, but they decided to switch fully online during that week. And then after that, I went back to my apartment at school in Alfred, and I've been here online classes ever since.
Okay. Right now I'm about probably like 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour outside of Jacksonville. Okay, so I just got into South Carolina, like literally just past the border. There's less traffic now, but I just went to get gas and they had a line on the ground drawn in caution tape that I wasn't allowed to pass. I had to like stand there, and she stuck out a grabby thing and grabbed my card from me, and then grabbed it with her hand that had gloves on and swiped my card, and then handed it back to me through the grabby thing. And the only reason I had to go inside was because the card machine wasn't working. So was the first time that you heard about the virus when you were in Belize, or did you hear about it before?
No, the first time I heard about it was in Belize, and my professors had said that because of the coronavirus, there was like a possibility that we could be switching to online classes, and like it was more of a like, oh, like that might happen, but we didn't really expect it to happen at all yet.
Was crazy that that it's taken this turn to where people are going to such lengths to where I have to stand behind a line, which I'm assuming was measured probably at about 6 feet away. Like when you were coming back into the U.S., there weren't like you didn't have any issues with customs or anything. I know you like kind of said that there wasn't anything, but there wasn't even like there was no like hint of anything.
Nope, they definitely had a lot more security around, and like there was at the Belize airport when we were leaving, there was a lot of people like en masse that were doing like checks for people who were coming from countries or going to countries that had way higher cases, because at that point the U.S. didn't have like they didn't know how many cases there were, so it wasn't like a huge deal yet. And Belize had so few cases that like getting back into Canada and then going from Canada to the U.S., it wasn't an issue at all. It took us like 5 minutes to get through customs from the U.S. Canadian border.
And so, right, and how since you've been back, did you have a job prior to this? And like, if you have, how has this affected your job?
Yep, I worked at a pizzeria shop in Alfred, and when I first got back, my boss had texted me and said, like, are you willing to work just deliveries if we're, like, delivering for a little while? And, like, I said yes so that I had some sort of income, and I would do anything for, like, to still have a job. And after, like, when I got back to Alfred from going back home from spring break, my boss texted me and she said that she's completely shutting down because they like they switched all of the restaurants and bars and anything to just takeout or delivery, and she was too nervous to even open up. So I don't have a job right now, and I have to file for unemployment.
Are you still expected to pay rent?
Yeah, my rent's already paid for, but I know other people who pay monthly, they're still all expected to pay rent. Like, I still have bills. Spectrum is technically doing like a student deal where if you were signing up right now, you could get free Wi-Fi until the pandemic's over. But since I already had Spectrum Wi-Fi, I can't get any, like...
You don't qualify for it?
No.
Like, are you practicing social distancing, or is it more... Are you more lax about it?
I'd say I'm practicing it pretty well. Because when I first got back, I had hung out with the girls upstairs that live in the same house as me, and since I had seen them before we were like in like quarantine, like lockdown, I'm with them almost all the time, and I've seen maybe 2 people outside of this house since quarantine started. And then like I still go to Walmart, but I try and stay a distance away from people, but it depends.
Have you noticed any in like your immediate community? Have you noticed any changes? Like, would you say the community as a whole is, because Alfred is a huge college town, like that's essentially the only thing that's in Alfred.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that there's been like have a lot of kids like gone home, or like what does the community look like now that you've seen?
So all of the students on campus were expected to be completely moved out of the dorms the week after we switched to fully online. So they gave them 1 week to completely move out. So anyone on campus is gone unless they have like a very special reason and they like have convinced the school that they need to stay. And I think I know one person that's still on campus. But everyone else, that for the most part, the people that were living off campus, like the seniors, some juniors, any grad students, are all still here. And like I don't have much interaction with them, but I do, like, everyone, it's like a ghost town, but at the same time, like, people are just like randomly walking around because like no one knows what to do.
Do you know if the schools have helped with anything, like an extension on like the withdrawal dates, or have like they helped with any of the students, minus like allowing them to stay on campus on a like emergency basis? Like, have they helped with like students like moving out, or like what assistance have they offered students that you know of?
So I know if you couldn't move your stuff out, they told the students that they could set them up with a storage unit to get their stuff put in there until they could come and get it. And then they did give us the option. They just recently sent out an email where if we want to, we can switch any class we would like. We don't have to switch all of them, but we can switch whatever class we want to pass or fail. So instead of like, if you're really struggling with online, instead of just failing that class, you could still pass it technically instead of getting like a D or a C or whatever. Honestly, I feel like we're all managing, but on a level of like stress wise, I think it's been kind of hard on everybody. We all really try and find things to do to keep us busy in some sort of way. Like, personally, I try and make a schedule for throughout the day, and like we all try and do things together. Like, we will all hang out and like do Just Dance or like something just to keep us to doing something instead of just sitting in our rooms all day. But it has been really hard, like stress wise. Even though I'm not doing anything, I feel more stressed out than I was when I had like my most busiest schedule.
And how would you say that this is affecting your schoolwork?
I have been struggling really hard. A lot of my classes have just added on work on top of the assignments we already had, because instead of doing an actual class, like I only have one online lecture where I sit down at my regular scheduled class time, and the other classes just added more assignments instead of having that class time. So my workload has doubled, but my it's just way harder than it was before.
So you would it be a safe statement to make that despite having more time, you're more stressed out and classes are harder and there's like more coursework now that like this is all the whole
yes,
pandemic
100%.
started.
And I feel a lot of professors think that now that a lot of people don't have as much time, they can give more work. They're still putting all of that extra work on top of what we already had. And like, I've had 2 exams since online, and they were way harder than they were before. And I've really struggled with I've done worse in those exams than I did than the ones before we were online.
I don't know if I really have any more questions. Is there anything that like I didn't mention that you feel the necessity to mention?
I don't think so. I think that's about it, really. Quarantine sucks.
True. Hashtag fuck quarantine.